You have to control yourself!
And welcome back to Horror Queers. We're talking, I prefer small. Sam was huge, and there were times I could not face it. We're talking, you're not even interesting enough to make me sick. And we're talking, dildos, anal intercourse. And I'm Joe.
And I'm Trace, and we're talking Horny Little Devils and George Miller's The Witches of Eastwick for our special episode for Chattanooga Film Festival.
Indeed, yes. How exciting. We're celebrating Pride with witches.
With divas, hello. Albeit, divas in a movie where they are not the stars.
I mean, are we surprised that Jack Nicholson gets top billing?
No. But I'm honestly, I'm really happy we're able to discuss this because I feel like this has been kind of on a periphery for years.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, in the 6 years we've been doing this show, but it doesn't scream horror, even though there are horror elements to this film.
Yep.
But it sure does scream gay.
It definitely does scream gay, although I'm not going to lie, I definitely missed over the implied visual imagery of the 4G. I was always like, this ballroom scene, it's a lot of fun. And then I'm like, oh, this is a stand-in for them fucking.
Yes, it's weird. Like, it's an R-rated film. It earns the R rating for the dialogue alone. And it feels so horny, but there's not really a lot on screen. Like, there's no fucking on screen, you know?
No, there's no lesing out, and I was disappointed.
Well, yeah, no lesing out, which I feel like if you remade this today, granted, there have been many attempts at re-adapting this story, which I find fascinating. Yes. Mm-hmm. But I feel like if you made it today, which I would love to see a remake of this with who knows what actresses we put in it, but make it more queer. Like, do it.
Yes. Yeah. I'll be interested to see what you pull out for the production history, but I do have a little bit on the book because the book is, strangely enough, a little more gay.
Have you read the book?
I've not read the book.
I did. I read this way back in college, so it's been about 20 years. But yeah, definitely a book where it's like, this is not the same thing. No. They took a lot of liberties when adapting this book, going as so far as to change the tone of the whole piece.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I'm not really familiar with John Updike's work, so I don't know him as a writer, but I have gotten the impression that he's gently misogynistic and gently homophobic.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. Do you remember the first time you saw this movie? Because admittedly, this is a movie that my dad talked about a lot growing up because obviously it had Cher in it.
Women.
So yeah, but it was like, but I couldn't watch it as a kid. But it played on TV so much because it's easy to edit this for television.
So easy. Yeah, as you said, there's virtually nothing in here except for language. So you just bleep it and do all kinds of fun substituted words, and then you're good to go. I'll confess, I don't remember when I first saw this. I did see this in a theater because it played at Salem Horror the last time we were there. So I actually just sat in because I hadn't seen it in so long. And it's an interesting movie. I think there's lots of it that works, and there's other parts of it that I'm just like, some of this doesn't quite mesh well. Like, in some ways, it's a bit of a mess.
I agree. Like, I think it's a very entertaining mess. Like, I'm never really bored watching the movie, even though it's a full 2 hours long.
It is a full 2 hours.
I think my biggest gripe of a takeaway is that once Jack Nicholson's character comes into town, the film does get a little episodic, where it's like, he's going to seduce Cher, then seduce Susan Sarandon, then seduce Michelle Pfeiffer, and then it's like, okay, then we got to do all the fucking. And I wish there were more scenes of the women just together, and we get that in the beginning, but we don't really get that again until the climax.
It's true. And sometimes it feels like a deliberate decision to show that when a man comes into women's lives, it immediately isolates them. It removes them from their community and their friendships and that kind of stuff. That's maybe me being a little bit generous. I think the easier read is that the top billed star comes into the movie and then we want to give him a bunch of things to do at the women's expense.
Yes. So I don't know, but why don't we just dive into this? Because
tell me all about it.
Well, so there's not I don't even think there's a Blu-ray of this movie out, which I'm a little surprised. Like, this is a Warner Brothers title. Actually, you know what? Maybe Arrow's No. Okay. So as we've said, The Witches of Eastwick is loosely based on John Updike's 1984 novel of the same name. Now, let's talk about that book for a minute. So, John Updike is one of only 4 writers to win the Pulitzer Prize for fiction more than once.
Okay.
Once for his 1981 novel, Rabbit is Rich, the 3rd entry in his Rabbit tetralogy, and another for his 1990 novel, Rabbit at Rest, the 4th and final entry in that tetralogy.
Okay. I am not familiar.
Neither am I, but when this book was made, he was 1 Pulitzer Prize deep. So Updike is considered one of the greatest American fiction writers of his generation, but as you kind of already hinted at, he had his detractors. You see, his readers occasionally objected to his portrayals of women, criticizing them as merely wives, sex objects, and purely domestic creatures.
Yes.
In response, he said he'd been constantly trying to improve his depiction of women. So, enter The Witches of Eastwick, which was a very determined attempt to write about women who did have careers of a sort, and acted as one attempt to, in his words, make things right with his feminist detractors.
Folks, if you're not watching the video of this, Trace is using so many air quotes.
So many air quotes. I'm like, but okay, what is fascinating, though, is that the book can appear to be quite misogynistic, but Updike's maintained that the book was about female power, a power that patriarchal societies have denied, albeit through the use of satire. And
there we go.
What do we say about satire a lot? It's unless someone says this is satire, it's hard to tell sometimes. And I think also for some people, they read it as you're just saying it's satire to cover up the fact that you were being misogynistic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, again, readers who either didn't pick up on the satire or didn't buy into the argument that it was satire claim that it reinforced the patriarchal conceptions of women as witches and of women requiring a man for personal growth. In other words, it's yet another example of an important male writer who seems unable to view women as much more than trite cliches.
Yeah.
I'm curious, Joe, though, and we don't have to elaborate, but do you get that from the movie?
I don't. I've seen a couple of people take issue with the film that it does suggest, these women need this man in order to unlock their witchy powers. And I can definitely see that. But I think by the end of the film, it's very clear that they actually always had powers, and it's that they need to come together to activate them, as opposed to this man helps them to understand how to unlock it. But once they know how to use it, they don't need him anymore.
Well, and that's the interesting thing. So a major change from the book is kind of the witchcraft. In the book, these women are all already witches. They're already part of a coven. They know how to use their powers. Whereas in this movie, it seems like it seems like they are just discovering it. And it's like the climax is when they learn to finally use their powers, which is an interesting adaptation choice, I think. But
I agree.
Anyway. Okay, so getting to the film. Warner Brothers hired Pulitzer Prize and Tony Award-winning playwright Michael Christopher to write the script. And again, yes, some major changes. They're already witches in the book. They made the women also much more sympathetic and much more glamorous. So, for example, Michelle Pfeiffer's character Suki is a fat character in the novel.
Oh no, we're doing this.
They are more dowdy, housewifey, again, everyone air quotes characters in the book, again, that kind of a stereotype of what it is. They are not Cher, Susan Sarandon, and Michelle Pfeiffer.
Oh my god, fucking goddesses.
The tone of the novel, as I said, was changed from the novel's bleak perversity to something more akin to a romantic comedy, and then Daryl was made into less of a casual agent of chaos and more of an active enabler for the women.
Okay.
Now, the studio brought in Aussie director George Miller, he of Mad Max fame, to direct. Now, Miller had quite literally spent the last decade filming the Mad Max trilogy in Australia, making The Witches of Eastwick his first full Hollywood film. I say full because he directed the Nightmare at 20,000 Feet segment of Twilight Zone the movie.
Okay.
Now, this is where all the drama comes in, Joe. I didn't really expect to have a lot of drama on this film, and because it seems like it was put together mostly well. This production turned out to be a bit of a nightmare for Miller, who he quickly...
that's part of his modus operandi.
Well, he quickly... It's the exact opposite, though, because he found himself at kind of as the studio's punching bag during its production. So because this is his first Hollywood production, he wanted to make things as easy as possible for everyone. So, during pre-production, the studio had a meeting to figure out how they could cut the budget down a bit. And Miller suggested, there are some things that are in my package that I don't really need. It's we can cut down on some of those things. I don't need a giant trailer. We can downsize my trailer. It's totally fine.
Okay.
Well, The studio heads took this as him being a pushover and believed that he would therefore bend to their more outlandish demands. They also realized they could half-ass his requests if they wanted to. So, like, they would give him a dozen extras when he asked for 50, or they would give him one extra when he asked for 2. And Miller quickly realized that he had to get mean to get what he wanted, which is not what he wanted to do.
Right.
But Jack Nicholson told him, hey, like, the studio heads mistake kindness for weakness. So you've got to make them think you're a little crazy.
You got to play hardball.
Yes. Direct quote from Nicholson, by the way. But
yeah, because we don't like that word.
Yeah, Miller followed through on that, not showing up for work one day when he felt the studio was taking advantage of him, to the point where he was nearly fired by Warner Brothers until Jack Nicholson threatened to quit. And so thankfully, like, Nicholson always had Miller's back. And I think if that wouldn't have been the case, he wouldn't have directed this film.
Right. Okay.
Speaking of Nicholson, though, he actually wasn't even the original choice for Daryl. That was actually Bill Murray.
Bill Murray.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I could actually see it. Okay. I took a moment. I reflected and I thought, okay, the way the character is at least described or talked about, particularly by Cher, I think we could kind of see it. Like, you need someone who's charismatic, but unconventionally, or maybe not as conventionally attractive.
But that's the thing, right? Like, they really hone in on, like, he's handsome, but he's not like super handsome. Like, he's intriguing enough, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I couldn't figure out how far into pre-production they were before Murray dropped out, because he was involved.
Oh, he was attached. Oh, okay.
But drop out he did. And then Angelica Houston, who was dating Jack Nicholson at the time and up for the part of Alexandra, Cher's role,
obviously,
she told Nicholson about the part, and he was like, "Oh, like, obviously I want to play this part. Yeah, 100%." Houston obviously did not get the part of Alex. She has openly stated that she gave a terrible audition in which she screen tested with Michelle Pfeiffer, who had already been cast as Suki. But she struggled with the tough dialogue, which I thought was interesting.
Okay.
I mean, again, I'm not an actor. I didn't find much of Cher's dialogue particularly difficult, so I don't know exactly what she means by that.
I guess maybe that one interaction in the bedroom with Jack Nicholson, like the kind of classic Cher monologue about how much of a shitty man he is. I'm sure one of us probably has it completely written down in our notes. Definitely won't be trying to do it or anything.
No.
No, I'm going to try, is what I'm saying.
You were being sarcastic.
I'm trying. I'm going to do my best Cher.
We don't normally record with video, and that should, like, really help me to pick up your sarcasm more. But man, I am just really bad at that.
No, I'm just deadpan. I'm giving you nothing to work with. So, but no, I mean, I wonder if those are the kinds of lines of dialogue where it's like, oh boy, that is a near monologue, and Cher can do those things very, very well. If you've seen Moonstruck, then you know that she can do that kind of stuff. But I wonder if Angelica Houston was just like, ooh, I'm not used to this.
Well, here's the thing, though. So Houston doesn't get the part, and the role of Alex is given to Susan Sarandon.
No.
I
cannot see her in that role. Sorry.
So, as we've said, it's actually Cher who plays Alex in the film, with Sarandon playing Jane. So let's talk about that for a bit, because, hoo boy, at this time, Cher was in her film era. Like, she took a pretty lengthy break from recording albums between 1982 and 1987, following a slew of flop albums between 75 and 82.
Interesting.
In those years, she had released 5 albums, 4 of which failed to chart, with her only success being the 1979 disco album Take Me Home. But she wanted to make the transition into film. And so in 1982, she starred in Robert Altman's Comeback to the Five and Dime, Jimmy Dean, with Nightmare on Elm Street 2's Mark Patton.
Yes.
In 1983, she starred in Mike Nichols' Silkwood opposite Meryl Streep, for which she was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress.
Yep.
And in 1985, she starred in Peter Bogdanovich's Mask. So she had,
That's
of course, she's known for being a singer for the past 20, 30 years of her life. So she still has to prove herself. And you'd think that she would have by 1987 when this came out. Also, when she finally releases her big comeback album, the eponymously titled Cher, which is an amazing album. But
I was waiting for it. I was like, he's not talking about what he thinks of these albums. Because, folks, if you didn't know, Trace went through an entire period where he listened to every single Cher album.
Yes, but the 1987 Cher is when she does her cover of her 1960s song, her cover of Bang Bang. So it's a recover of a recover, but so good. And this one obviously charted. But I think also that film career she had really helped boost those numbers.
Oh, sure. Yeah, it probably put her into a different light. So maybe people who hadn't been trying her music were more familiar with her.
Yes. Okay. So here's this story coming from a Hollywood Reporter piece from 2018, shortly following the press tour for Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again. Okay.
Okay.
I'm telling you, Joe. So Cher turned 40 in 1986 and was feeling pretty insecure about her age, but she had a great birthday party and her mood turned around until the next morning when she gets a phone call from George Miller. And I'm just going to read you the transcript of Cher's account of this conversation. And to my knowledge, George Miller has not responded to this story. But
Okay.
she picks up the phone and George Miller says, "Hi, Cher, it's George Miller. I just wanted to call and tell you that I don't want you in my movie. And Jack Nicholson and I think you're too old and you're not sexy. I hate the way you walk. I hate the way you talk. I don't like the color of your hair and I don't like your eyes."
Oh my God. What?
Yeah. So Cher is like, she's like, I'm kind of in tears right now. But then it was interesting. She says, I know that in Hollywood, if someone is going to call you to insult you, they insult you and they hang up. But George Miller wasn't hanging up on me. He was just waiting for a reply. So
was it a test?
I don't. Here's the thing, Joe. I don't know. But her reply to him after she stopped crying was, "Okay, look, motherfucker. You didn't find me under a rock. I was nominated for an Academy Award for Silkwood, and I got the Cannes Film Festival Award for Best Actress for Mask. So goodbye." And she hung up on him.
Yes. All right.
Now, so obviously she got in the movie, but that's it. That is like a out of context ish version of this story that I'm like, George Miller sounds like an asshole, and not to excuse his behavior. I'm just saying, I'm sure contributing to it was the fact that he was probably under a lot of pressure to make sure this movie was good for the studio.
Right. Yeah. God, I just don't know how you then go from that to okay, let's make a movie together. I will accept direction from you. I will be your star.
I have no idea, to the point where I was like, maybe it's just really good professionalism from everyone involved, because so it doesn't end here.
So we're still going.
Well, because remember, Alex is still Susan Sarandon at this point. So
right. Okay.
Cher gets cast in the movie, but she really wanted the role of Alex, which was already given to Susan Sarandon. So Cher was going to be playing Jane. Okay. So in a 2020 interview with Susan Sarandon for Page 6, Sarandon said, and I quote, "I initially was cast in Cher's part and didn't find out till I got to LA, because I was living in Rome, that I was actually moved to a different part. I had to learn suddenly to play the cello, and I had never played an instrument in my life. They said they would sue me if I left, so I didn't have much of a choice." Okay. Supposedly, Cher was buddy-buddy with producer John Peters, who helped her, and I quote, "muscle her way into the part." Those are Susan Sarandon's words.
Okay.
Okay. But here's the thing. The actresses got along so well. Cher even lent Susan Sarandon a wig and a dress for a scene in which Nicholson seduces her. So I think that was when her hair just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. That's Cher's wig.
Right. Okay.
They also had lunch with Nicholson in his trailer daily. Sarandon said that she, Cher, and Pfeiffer bonded to survive the shoot, where Peters, the producer, threw chairs on the set in a temper, and director George Miller quit twice. And so Susan Sarandon said, "There were a lot of reasons why we could not have gotten along, but everybody took the higher road and just tried to make it as good as possible."
Wow. You would never know.
Right? I'm like, okay, Cher is telling the story about Miller in 2018, the first time that I think that's ever come out. Sarandon's telling this story about Cher in 2020. These are all recent developments, and it's
right.
Again, as you see, the movie's kind of a mess narratively, but production wise, it seems like it went off without a hitch.
That's wild. It's so bizarre to think that we could get these kinds of stories about more contemporary films. We might just need to wait, 10 or 15 years to be like, oh yeah, let me tell you about some shit that went down.
I know. Now I want this tell-all book about the making of Witches of Eastwick, and I really want to hear. I really want to hear George Miller's perspective, actually, especially in response to that Cher bit, because that is he said some horrible things to her, and for her, it's I'm going to prove myself to you, I'm sure, but and she does. She wins her Oscar, I think, shortly after this for Moonstruck.
Right. Yeah. I don't know a ton about George Miller as an individual, but I've read stories. There's an entire tell-all book about the making of Mad Max Fury Road. So yeah. I don't know. I'm not hesitant to call him a genius, because I think many of his films are incredible, but maybe he's just not easy to work with.
Yeah, but do we think he's Stanley Kubrick levels of
maybe
that? Maybe actually, who knows? So, okay, The Witches of Eastwick was filmed in Cohasset, Massachusetts, and other nearby towns in July and August of '86 on a budget of $22 million.
Okay.
It was released on June 12th of '87 and opened in the number 2 spot with $9.5 million, behind that weekend's other new release, Predator, which opened with $12 million.
Oh, the battle of the sexes at the cinema.
Really, like Nicholson versus Schwarzenegger. But here's the thing, though. The Witches of Eastwick moved up to the number 1 spot in its second weekend of release, grossing $8.2 million for a drop of only 12%.
Hey, okay.
Yeah. Which again, I love that though. Like these 2 weekends, because I think Predator slipped to number 2, but like these 2 weekends, '87, like these 2 for adults R-rated movies, like are the number 1 and 2 movies of the weekend. Like what?
You know what? We used to be a society, Trace. We used to have movies made for adults.
Okay, so it went on to gross $63.7 million domestically and $39.4 million internationally for a worldwide gross of $103 million. Again, against that production budget of $22 million. So this film was a bona fide hit.
Yeah, and if it had been made about a decade later, we instantly would have gotten a sequel that came out about 16 months afterwards.
Well, we'll talk about the ending of this film and how it leaves things open for a sequel, I guess.
Yeah.
But I mean, well, Updike did write a decades later sequel. It was the last book he ever wrote, called The Widows of Eastwick, which I have not read. But I mean, again, it's a sequel to the book, not the movie.
Exactly. Yeah.
Critical reaction was mixed. We are looking at a 67% on Rotten Tomatoes, and Letterboxd users have given it a 3.3 out of 5 or a 6.6 out of 10. But it did get 2 Oscar nominations. One for Best Score for John Williams, which, by the way,
so over the top.
Okay, I love
you love
this
it.
Score
Yeah, of course you do.
So much.
It's a great score. It's just there were several times where I just thought, like, Jesus, John, tone it down, tone it down a little.
The whole time I was like, oh, Joe's gonna think the score's overbearing. Meanwhile,
it's a little much.
Well, the main track is called "The Dance of the Witches," and you better believe I'm like dancing in my chair while I'm like watching this movie. Oh, but here's the thing. It was also nominated for Best Sound, and it lost both to Bernardo Bertolucci's The Last Emperor, but it did win the BAFTA award for Best Special Effects, which I find interesting because in most of the reviews, positive or negative, the effects-heavy finale is a negative aspect of the film.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I don't mind the finale. I do find the tennis sequence is not... It just hasn't aged particularly well, I think.
Because the effects?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah. It also goes on for a very long time.
It's too long.
But, okay, so here's the thing before I pass it over to you, Joe. Much like the book, there was debate over the feminist aspects of the film. Some viewed it as a female empowerment manifesto, while others view it as a male-gazy supernatural story that keeps women in their traditional place. The argument for satire was made again, saying that the film is so over the top that it was clearly a satire of such fantasies. But then, because almost every single review, be it positive or negative, highlighted Jack Nicholson's performance as the standout, it was a movie with a trio of female leads where the male actor pulls the focus.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely.
But nevertheless, the property, I mean, again, we've gotten a bunch of, they did a Broadway musical of this thing. We got that Rebecca Romaine ABC TV show in the early 2010s or late 2000s that was like, I don't even think it made it a full season.
I think it nearly made it a full season, but it's the only adaptation, because I think they've tried to make it as a television show a couple of times, but all the others never make it even past the pilot.
Yeah, exactly. Which, it's like, this isn't
it's not that hard to crack.
It's a high concept. Like, I don't I don't really get it. And again, like, I mean, I think there's a lot to mine here, especially with modern politics, like, and gender politics. Like, I would love to see what a modern version of this looks like.
I saw a couple of contemporary reviews or like people looking at it, anniversary milestones and that kind of stuff. And a bunch of people said, hey, no, it would be super interesting seeing a feminist version of this, like done by a woman.
Well, and that's the thing, though. Again, some people are like, but it is a feminist thing. But again, it's all written and directed by men. Like, there's not a woman creator on the writing side of this thing.
Yeah, and to be clear, just in case anyone's yelling at us or getting upset, it's not as if men can't be feminist. I think it's just, like, I would love to see a woman's take on the material as opposed to just, oh, the material itself is feminist.
I feel like maybe one of the an easy out would be, let's gender flip it. Like, have Daryl be like a female and have it be the Warlocks of Eastwick or something. I was like, I don't really care about it. Unless you're really honing in on the satire and the Daryl character. We can still call her Daryl Hannah. Fuck, cast her as Daryl.
Ooh.
then in this case, Daryl would be the main character, with the warlocks being like the supporting bits. Which again, that's kind of what they are in this movie. But
yeah, or just queerify it and make it all one gender,
all women. Oh, I like that. I really, yeah, better idea. Do that.
There, we did it. We fixed it.
We did it.
Oh dear. Okay.
Okay, Joe. So what happens in this movie?
Okay, here we go. So we are introduced to our 3 leading ladies. We have sculptor Alex, as you said, played by Cher. We have reporter Suki. Played by Michelle Pfeiffer, who I'm going to argue has the least to do in this movie, which is a little disappointing.
I genuinely hate that, like, because when he's like getting his revenge and all of them, like hers is like, oh, let's like basically like give her cancer or hemorrhaging or something. Like she is the most passive of all these characters. And also, what happens to her kids for like all of this movie?
I do not know. I think they were supposed to read that she leaves them with Cher's daughter, I think. But
I guess
it's like, it's not well.
At one point, she says she has 5 kids, and I was like, I swear I counted 4 in that first scene. I did not see a 5th child. You lost one, bitch.
I may have a running gag in this plot synopsis about the children. So, yes. So we're introduced to Suki, and she is shepherding her 5 children. And I am pulling this mostly from the fact that they say 5. But yeah, like if you miscount, if you lose one, not surprising. So
maybe there's a baby somewhere. I don't know, man.
Yeah. Anyway, and then our final element is cellist Jane, who, she plays in the orchestra, she teaches at the school, and so on. This is Susan Sarandon. We should note that Susan Sarandon is definitely coded as the kind of most prim and proper and uptight of the 3, principally because of the way she does her hair, but also she mentions calorie counting. So this is how you know that she's one of those women who's very concerned about her figure.
Yeah, I mean, her performance is very reserved. I do think that her evolution is the most interesting and fun to watch. Yeah. Because I mean, again, when the hair comes out, it is big.
The hair in this movie is amazing.
I love it so much.
Okay, so we get to know all of these 3 just like very quick sort of short bursts. This is their lives. Our introduction to Jane does also include sexual harassment from Walter Neff, who was played by Keith Yoakum, and he then rambles on and on at this school assembly, and he's very boring, and everybody gets very, very tired. And I will say, I think the editing of this movie could use a slightly defter touch. As you said, it's a full 2 hours. Some of these sequences, they just go on longer than is needed to get the point across. And I would say this is one of them. It's like, okay, we see children slumping in their chairs and everybody looks very tired. And like, even you listening to me right now are probably like, well,
because I think it's interesting too, because this is essentially when they conjure Daryl is like in this scene. Yeah. And again, this is before we've ever like seen these women in their element with each other. Like we've met them all individually, but I guess maybe that's the point. You know, they are conjuring him separately, and we'll learn later that they were all thinking the same thing.
Yes. Yeah. So the main thing, it's a yes and a no. So what they're doing here is they're starting to realize when they think of the same thing that they can pull something. And I think this is the start of attracting Daryl's attention, because they don't pull him in here, but they do cast a storm, which, you know, scatters the crowd. Everybody's getting soaked. And then we immediately transition to the Thursday night weekly drinks that they have at Alex's house. Or Jane's house. I don't know.
It looks like Alex's house.
I think it's Alex because it looks like a fucking barge on the river.
Yes. Which I love that. Also, she has like the Whitewater Rapids right outside her house. I was like, girl, don't fall into that. I think what they could have done, not to make this movie longer, but I think I would have taken more like interstitial breaks between like big moments in the film with these Thursday night martini nights.
Oh, right. Yeah. Let them come together a little bit more frequently and maybe even update. I mean, I think part of the problem is that we're supposed to read that there's animosity between them that grows as soon as Daryl gets introduced. Well, yeah, we'll unpack it as we go.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, so we've gathered for Thursday night drinks. We've got martinis. We are celebrating because Jane's divorce has recently gone through, so she is single. And there's 2 sort of big takeaways that we learn from this. So we learn about all of their individual backstories. So Alex is a widower, Jane is divorced, and then Suki is basically her husband left her because she is too fertile.
Yeah, like she just gets, that's honestly her trait. She just gets pregnant all the time.
Yeah, she gets pregnant at the drop of a hat. So the other thing that kind of unites them is that none of them seem to be able to find a man. They've been repeatedly sexually harassed by Walter, despite the fact that he has a wife, which we apparently see, but I could not pick out of a lineup if I needed to.
Yeah.
It's fine. But the big thing to take away from this is that they don't want to orient their lives around men, but it seems to be all they talk about, which to me, I was like, this feels like a very contemporary perspective on like single women. Like I could imagine Sex in the City having a conversation kind of like this.
Well, and the movie even lampshades it, you know. Cher even says, I don't think that men are the answer to everything. And Jane's like, well, no. Well, then why do we end up talking about them all the time? So that's where, like, again, that feels satirical to me. And I'm like, oh, that's a clever little joke. I like that.
Yeah. And especially when you then watch the rest of the film, you're like, oh, it really is just all about the relationship to this one man. I get it.
I think that's the thing is, like, I do want to see a sequel to this movie, like, but without the coda this movie gives us. Like, I wish that was hacked off, but we'll talk about it.
We have big thoughts about the ending. Yeah. Okay, so they're talking about men, and they basically start developing a wish list. Like, well, what would you like to see? So the things that we talk about is someone nice, someone you can talk to, someone you can be yourself around, someone with a big dick, a small dick, a medium-sized dick.
Okay,
I love that we're literally talking about dicks.
Yeah, no, we're totally doing like Goldilocks and the Three Bears with dicks here, and I love it because Suki, I guess she just wants a big old cock.
She wants a big dick, like a big juicy cock.
I do like okay, it's funny, while I do agree the editing could use a trim in this movie, I do think some of the cuts we make in the editing really add to the film's humor.
Yeah, agreed. Also, Suki, I wonder, I'm just gonna say Suki.
It's
Suki
fine.
the whole time. I do wonder if maybe part of the reason that she keeps getting pregnant is because she keeps going after guys with giant dicks.
Maybe so. By the way, I'm thinking Suki is like Melissa McCarthy's character in Gilmore Girls. Sookie, Sookie, is
True Blood.
Anna Paquin, True Blood, yes.
Yeah. We got there in the end. Yeah.
I got it. I was like, wait.
But as they're developing this wish list, there is a storm outside, and we start cross-cutting with imagery of a car entering the town of Eastwick, pulling up at the Lennox house, which is the giant mansion up on the hill. And then we see someone getting out. So we haven't been quite introduced to Jack Nicholson yet. He's a mystery figure still, but we know that something has arrived, and it seems to be coinciding with the women talking about what their ideal man would be.
Yes, which again, they're pretty vague though. It's like someone from out of town, a stranger, a tall, dark foreign prince traveling under a curse on a big black horse. Okay,
fairy tale. Yeah.
Handsome, but not too handsome. Nice eyes, nice ass, and then a balloon. I'm gonna guess his dick is average size.
I think so. Yeah. It like, seems to be what Jack Nicholson suggests when he has lunch with Cher.
Yeah.
Okay, so cut to the next morning. We've got Suki calling Alex. So she works in the local newspaper, and she says, hey, there's a new man who's arrived in town. I'm going to be doing an interview with him, but I can't remember his name. And I love this as a kind of like little mini joke for the first part of the film. So in this scene, we're also introduced to her editor, Clyde, who is played by Richard Jenkins. Not really a great character, but because I love Richard Jenkins, I was very excited to see him.
He's doing the most with not a lot to work with.
A little tiny bit, yeah. And then also his religious wife, Alicia, who's played by Veronica Cartwright in, I'm going to say, it's the similar kind of thing, right? Where it's not really a big character, and she is fucking eating in this movie.
Like honestly, after Jack Nicholson, she's kind of my second MVP, and truthfully, I don't even get a lot of like what we're doing here. I will say, so that is actually a big difference from the novel. So this character in the novel, the women kill her.
Oh,
they give her cancer and they make her die slowly, and I can't remember if it is like intentional on their part or if it's like just because they're feeling it, so like, it happens. But that's something they change again to make the women more sympathetic in the movie as opposed to in the novel where they are not particularly sympathetic. Because I also don't think this Felicia character is as, I mean, she's a religious person, but I don't think she's as heinous as Veronica Cartwright portrays her in this film.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you say heinous. I will agree at times. And then
Hmm.
I do start to feel sympathy for her as the movie progresses. I'm going to say one of the things I like the least about this film is actually how we address the fallout of Felicia's death, or really just the circumstances surrounding it. Like,
Well, that's the thing is like, yeah, it kind of like it doesn't seem to really amount to much or like have that much
mm-mm.
of an impact on the story of the film. It's more like, oh yeah, we got to get rid of these characters because they're not actually contributing much to the story.
Right. We need to zero the focus in. We need to narrow it down. So cut out the extra characters so we can just talk about the women and the man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But essentially, Felicia's introduction is her discovering that the Lennox household has been sold. This upsets her so deeply that she drops everything she's carrying, and then she talks about how something evil has happened.
Yeah, and again, I think there's something interesting with this character, but the film just doesn't seem to want to give her more screen time.
Yeah, I'll be very interested. You're kind of my de facto religious person, so like if there's a religious element to a text, I tend to lean on you to say like,
Right.
what do you think of this person? What do we think of this depiction? It feels like this movie wants to have a shorthand with, okay, she is, I'm going to say it, a hysterical woman,
Right.
but around religion. And it just doesn't feel like it goes beyond that. Like, is it just, oh, religion equals kind of crazy?
Well, because that's the thing is like again in the book, I don't really know if it's like explicit that like Daryl is the devil, whereas I feel
Mhm.
like in the movie that's really
So
what we're kind of
obvious.
yeah, we're like he's the devil, he's Satan, like whatever,
Yep.
and so
Yep.
uh yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, like it's weird. I keep bringing up the 2 hour runtime, but it's weird that in a
Mhm.
2 hour movie we
A
don't
little
like
more.
really. Yeah, it's just something about this character doesn't fully like fit into this puzzle piece of the plot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I guess I just don't know how to feel about her. Like, because
Yeah.
she's coming across as antagonistic to our three women who we are
Hmm.
siding with at all times, but also she's right. Like Felicia is right. Something bad has entered town. It is in the form of Daryl. He is up to no good. He's up to dastardly plans, and he should be stopped. So she's actually right about all of it.
Well, but see, okay, is he up to dastardly plans though? Because it's like, what is what is this diabolical plan he has outside of I'm going to give everything to these women? I mean, okay, yes, when they turn on him, yes, he becomes
Hmm.
like the worst. But like, what is his plan outside of like let me make all these women happy?
The end of the film, procreation. He wants to
Well,
spawn.
I guess that's true. Yeah, there you go. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, because we don't know what he plans to do with the three kids. We don't know, is this like, oh my God, apocalypse, he's going to groom these children to end the
Right.
world or something? Like, the movie never really tells us. But the fact that he has progeny at the end of the film, I think is meant to be a, ooh, shit.
I guess.
I don't know. We'll talk about it again later. Okay. All right. So we move to the local trinket / tourism store. This is when Alex discovers that someone has bought all of her sculptures, even though this old lady cannot remember who the gentleman's name was.
It's on the tip of my tongue. Tip of my
Yeah.
tongue.
Oh,
Oh,
isn't that diabolical?
Which
Diabolical.
I do love that word choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, what's actually diabolical is what happens in the next scene when Jane is trying to play with the orchestra, the symphony, and it is interrupted because someone is snoring so loudly that they disrupt the entire performance. And this is our introduction to the as yet unnamed character played by Jack Nicholson. And I mean, I'm not going to lie, it's really hard to not just give him all the praise because he is
Yeah.
doing the most in this movie.
What an introduction for this character. Like
Yeah.
it is wild, and I'm kind of with you. Where I'm kind of like, okay, I can kind of see Bill Murray in this role, but like,
Mhm.
this seems like no, this is Jack. Which maybe that's why we've never gotten like a proper remake of this because it's really like I don't know how you top Jack Nicholson's performance in this movie.
You just let his son take it over.
Honestly,
That mouth. Yeah. But I agree with you. It's a fantastic introduction to this character because even just this idea that he doesn't actually care about the performance, he slept through it. But for his purposes, it's important to make this grand introduction, this grand entrance. So he makes it all about him, even though he claims that he is giving accolades to Jane and her performance. And you're just like, oh,
Which-
I can already see it's about you.
Yeah, very much so.
I love the way that we shoot this after party piece. So it's like The
Uh-huh.
concert is over and everybody's milling around. They're having drinks, but then we're also following Alex and Suki, and they are talking about the interview that Suki's going to do. And she's like, I don't know why he asked for me. I guess maybe he just thinks I'm a writer. And we're already doing these kind of microaggression animosities between the women, but we're
Right.
also interspersing it with everybody being like, ugh, I can't remember his name. It's on the tip of my
Well,
tongue. And
I think this is actually one of the most clever ways that George Miller shoots this sequence. Yeah, along with his cinematographer Vilmos Zsigmond. But like, because it's almost like a tracking shot where we're following Alex and Suki as they're gossiping. But then, like, as they pass like little groups of people, we hear their gossip too interspersed with it.
yes.
And then again, I do think the editing gets really playful with this once everyone remembers his name at the same time. I think it's like it's a really cool way to do this.
It's so playful. So it's Suki who remembers, oh, his name is Daryl. And then we just kind of go to everybody else and they're like, Daryl, Van Horn. And then the minute everybody remembers it, that's when Suki's pearls break and we see them fall across the floor as everybody remembers the name simultaneously. And then Felicia just eats shit and falls down the stairs and breaks her leg.
Were you a little surprised we don't get a close up of this bone coming out of her leg? Because from a distance you can see the bone popping out, and I was like, oh, I'm surprised that we don't do an insert shot of what this looks like. But
yeah, we're reserved. It's very prim and proper, even though yes, you can very clearly tell, oh, that leg's on backwards all of a sudden.
Yes.
Okay, so let's start the seductions, shall we? So we have Alex tracing the letter D in sugar in her house, and then she bikes down the road. It's like almost the start of a romantic comedy, right? Or a romantic drama. She's biking in the countryside. She meets a man on the road.
This New England, like this beautiful scenic New England countryside. And then we have our like this recurring mention of snowy egrets in this movie, which I'm just like, okay.
Yeah. Felicia was very concerned that when Daryl bought the Lennox house that he was going to displace the mating ritual or habits of the snowy egrets. And then he says, do you want to come and see them? Have you ever seen one? And Alex is like, no. What are you talking about?
But I would know a snowy egret if I was pissing on one.
Indeed, yeah.
This is kind of like what a lot of Daryl's dialogue is for this movie.
Yeah, it's very weird, almost non sequiturs, but also he seems to be able to say the right thing at the right time that the women want to hear. So he knows exactly what to say to get them on his side, even though oftentimes he's saying the dumbest, stupidest, most offensive shit.
Honestly, he almost feels like a child in an adult's body. Like when he refers to Alex's dolls as the little booby dolls.
Yes. You're just like, what are you, 5? Like, you're a grown-ass man who wants to sleep with this woman.
Yeah.
So he invites her back to his house for lunch. And yes, he does talk about how she should get some size into her little booby doll sculptures. And we will see a scene later on that she is making a giant fucking one in her house. And I love that we just do that. We don't need to have her doing a giant installation later in the film where we get to see it. It's just like, oh yeah, okay, he has influenced her in a number of different ways.
But because this movie does use some stop motion, I think. Like I think I caught it early, like when the weather vane is spinning in the storm sequence. Like it looks not real. So I was like, maybe it's stop motion, maybe it's anime. I don't know. It's not CGI because we weren't doing that.
We didn't have it, yeah.
But I was like, oh, I wonder if there's another version of this movie too, where like Alex brings her giant booby doll to life.
Oh, could see it. It's like interesting. I wanted to ask you if you have like filmic comparisons, because there are definitely times where this feels like Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. It sometimes feels like Beetlejuice. Like it just has that essence of a bunch of different movies that were in and around this time period.
It is, but also I would argue, because I mean, I screened this for a Weird Wednesday screening at my Draft House screenings, but because I think also it is. I mean, it's not too weird, but there is a weird element to this. But the movies you just listed, I think those are weirder and a bit more successful in the playgrounds they're playing in.
I think so. Yeah, like those are cult hits for a reason, because they're not going to appeal to a mass audience. Whereas this does often feel like it's playing it just a little bit safer. It's not quite as weird. It's not quite as sexy or offensive as. Like, imagine a John Waters version of this movie.
Oh my God. Like, I would love to see that. But again, like, I'm thinking of, like, a lot of people at the time are going, oh my God, we're going to see the new movie with Cher and Jack Nicholson. And it's like, okay, but, like, because I remember my mom thought this movie was really weird growing up. She was like, it's just kind of, like, out there. And I was like, okay, I think for a certain, like, mainstream audience, this is a little weird.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have lunch, and this is our introduction to, I'm going to say, manservant or butler Fidel, who was played by Carol Struken.
Hmm.
And, again, as you said, Daryl is definitely playing it like he's a fucking preteen, horny. So we're talking about Fidel's huge schlong just over lunch, over
Yeah.
fish at lunch.
Well, okay, wait. We're serving fish, but the one thing I noticed, because I love this, they're eating lunch on a tent on like this
The
gigantic lawn.
terrace.
Yeah, it honestly looks like the same house that they used in Wolf. Yeah. On the table, there's this platter with, I think, a duck or a chicken or a goose,
Hmm.
and it's just surrounded by eggs. And I was like, is that decorative, or are they eating that? Like, what
Yeah.
are we doing here?
I didn't go looking for it because frankly, I was like, okay, gay, queer, feminist reads of this movie. That's what
Yeah.
I had time to kind of look up. I would love to know if there was an essay about the weird fucking food issues in this movie because we
Oh my
go for
God.
bagels and ice cream post sex later on. I was just like,
Yeah.
this movie's making a lot of choices around food.
Bagels and gravlax. I was like, that is. I mean, oh, sorry, that makes sense. But like, add in the ice cream, and it's like, what?
Mhm. Yeah. Is this where like one woman wants something and one woman wants this? Like,
Well,
are we mixing?
No, you know what it is? It's pregnancy cravings.
It is pregnancy cravings.
That's exactly what it is.
Oh my
Mhm.
God. You know what? You fixed it. You
I
figured
fixed
it
it.
out.
I got it.
Okay, yes. But basically, the whole point of this lunch is to prove that Daryl can understand what kind of man Alex is looking for, right? Because her
Yeah.
big thing is someone to talk to. And even though he's saying a bunch of outlandish and very childish things, he is being candid with her because she has brains. This is what he tells her. So he's complimenting her intellect, her conversation skills. He knows that he can just be himself because she's going to get it.
But if you want me to call you and treat you like a dumb twit, I will.
Oh boy. If somebody said that to me and I had only just met them, I'm sorry, I'm biking home. Like, fuck you.
Like it's really hard. Like half of my notes for this movie, admittedly, are like Nicholson's quotes because it's
Oh,
just
yeah.
like, oh my, like when he's like, oh, interesting word, ballroom. I'm like,
Oh my
of course.
God. Just like, what are you, 12?
Yes, he's
Yeah.
a perpetual 12-year-old in Jack Nicholson's body.
Truly, yes, yeah. One of, I think, the most telling lines, like, we don't ever talk about Chekhov's dialogue, but this is definitely very much the film's thesis, or at least the character's approach to dealing with women. So Daryl says that women bloom and blossom under 3 Ds: death, desertion, and divorce. And that's the woman for him, which means that's why he ends up with all 3 of them.
Yeah,
because
death,
together
desertion,
the 3
divorce.
of them are his one woman that he wants to date.
I know this is pre-charm, but I could not stop thinking like the power of 3, the power of 3, the power of 3. Like that's what makes it
Yeah.
so strong. I don't think they're as strong if one of them is missing.
Yeah, and another interesting piece that I found, and I'll bring it back near the end when I'm talking a little bit about some of the kind of weirdly homophobic critiques about the book in particular, but there
Right.
is actually a 4th witch in the book, a younger woman named Jenny, and we excise her, I think partially just because the narrative of the film is already a little bit overstuffed. We don't need an extra witch character, but I did think it was interesting that, yeah, like we sort of adhere to this idea of, oh, witches in 3s, right? Because it's
Yeah.
Macbeth, it's Charmed, it's
Right. Yeah, it's a common thread.
yeah. Okay, so as you mentioned, we get a tour of the house. We go through the ballroom. We're fixing it up. It's all very pretty. We don't actually see that much of the house. We kind of see this area, the kitchen, and then we see his bedroom, which of course
Yeah.
is where the tour ends. Trace, do you want to do this line that Daryl gives her?
I always like a little pussy after lunch.
My God, I'd forgotten about this. And I mean, I'm trying to imagine anyone other than Jack Nicholson being able to get away with a line reading like this.
I love that line, but I think the kicker here is I wouldn't want to insult your intelligence with anything as trivial as seduction, but I would love to fuck you.
Fuck
Like,
you.
honestly, that kind of swept me off
Wow.
my feet, not gonna lie.
It is a line that works. It doesn't work on her immediately because
No,
she's just
no,
like,
no,
I'm
no.
gonna go, fuck you. I mean, here's the thing. I said I was gonna give it a try, so here we go.
Oh my God, yes!
I am positive that you are the most unattractive man I have ever met in my entire life. In the short time we've been together, you have demonstrated every loathsome characteristic of the male personality and even discovered a few new ones. You are physically repulsive, intellectually R-word. You're
Oh
morally
yeah.
reprehensible, vulgar, insensitive, selfish, stupid. You have no taste, a lousy sense of humor, and you smell. You're not even interesting enough to make me sick. Except Cher, so it's about 10 times better.
Honestly, I am confident that this monologue is why she wanted this role so bad. Because
100%. Yeah.
I do think Alex, out of the three witches, is the most interesting character. And again, Suki has the least to work with. Jane
Yeah.
at least has a transition. Like
She has
she's
a better
evolving.
arc.
Yeah, but the most interesting character in the movie is absolutely Alex. I'm sorry, of the witches, not Daryl's the most interesting character.
Well, yeah. It is interesting because I would argue that Jane and Alex have a similar amount of screen time, agency, and that kind of stuff. I get frustrated with Jane because she's also the one who misses Daryl, even though he's clearly bad for all of them. That is where Suki gets a bit more agency in the back part of the film. But Alex feels like the constant. And also, I'm not going to lie, I just think that Cher has the biggest screen presence. Like, she's so charismatic.
That's the thing. And again, Cher has been through a lot in her life, but it's like to think that even in this movie, she's still having to prove herself to look. I'm sure the Oscar helped a lot, but I'm sure even still, it's like, okay, singer lady, what you got?
Right. Yeah. Which maybe we should all be a bit more generous when people want to transition between mediums. Like if we see singers who want to become actors and so on, because if they're given a Cher level performance, then who are we to say no?
I'm saying it because Charlie XCX is trying to make the shift over to, maybe not the shift, but she's adding films to her resume, and I've already seen people be like, let's see what you got. I'm like, okay, just let her act, people. It's fine.
Sure. Guess what? It's not going to hurt you. It's not like there aren't enough film roles for people to go around. But
also, Charlie XCX is doing horror movies, so we should not bite the hand that feeds us.
Truly, no. I'm very excited for her upcoming projects. Yeah. Okay, so so Alex goes on this tirade, and then she goes to leave, and then the average horny little devil wears her down. So this is interesting because in some ways he's complimenting her, like he's saying the things that she needs to hear, but also he's saying all of the horrible things that she has internalized, right? Like, well, nobody really needs you, so what do you need to go home to? Like, shouldn't you just stay here and fuck me?
Yeah. Well, so I guess the important thing to make this scene work is, do you buy that she makes this shift into yes, let's go?
I think so. Like I put in my notes that he wears her down.
Yeah, I buy it too, because I think, and actually this is some really good face acting from Cher, because she doesn't speak while he's delivering this monologue to her, and I think you can see the shift slowly happen across her face, where she's like, oh wow, my life is not that great. I need this man.
Yeah. And we've seen this kind of thing, like a seduction via magic, in other movies. And often it would be accompanied by, tendrils of mist or something going around her head, or some kind of insinuation that that's what's happening. And here it just kind of seems like, okay, it's a combination of his ability to know what to say to get these women to go to bed with him, to break down their defenses, but also that the women themselves don't have great lives. Like in some ways I buy that you might say, oh, I'll fuck a random stranger because what else do I have going on?
And I think I see it as a common critique of the movie too, is that the movie isn't witchy enough, like it's not magic-y enough. But
it's not.
I definitely don't disagree with that, but it's also a thing where because even the climax notwithstanding, the movie plays it in a kind of almost it's a real world. Like this doesn't feel like a heightened reality of sorts, and so I think that also makes it, maybe jarring is not the right word I want to use, but it's weird. Like I'm not used to seeing a movie about that is explicitly about witches not feel like a fantasy, and this doesn't always feel like a fantasy world to me.
Yeah, like as of the date that we're recording this, so folks who are listening to this at Chattanooga, this is relatively new-ish content. Folks, if you're listening to this on the podcast, this is old news and you've heard about it for many, many months. But the thing that came to mind is the recent developments around the Practical Magic sequel, which we now know we're going to get next year. But I was thinking, that's another movie about witches, admittedly 2 sisters instead of 3 in a coven. But it's also basically about terrible like abusive men.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, but that movie is way more conventionally witchy, right? Like we're doing storms and spell casting, but in a much more like, oh, this is a set piece where we're going to dance around the kitchen, making margaritas and spell casting.
I'm so glad that you brought up Practical Magic too, because I watched Witches of Eastwick with my mother-in-law yesterday because she's visiting, but the whole time up until the movie started, she thought when I was saying the Witches of Eastwick, she was
thinking Practical Magic
in her head. I was like, oh no, it's not that one, but we will get a sequel next year.
yes, yeah. So it'll make for some interesting comparisons when we see the sequel, but. Okay, so yes, Alex has been seduced, and now we can move on. But first, before we get to our next seduction, we have to touch base with Clyde and Felicia in the hospital, and she is having a change in personality. So she is cussing him out, and we get this confusing moment for Clyde where he talks to the doctor, and the doctor says that Felicia's brain is affected by bone marrow fat that has gotten into her bloodstream and traveled into her brain, which is going to make her paranoid, and she is going to say some awful shit.
Yeah, for some reason, every time, which truthfully, I think I've only watched this movie in full like 2 or 3 times. I think I've seen so many pieces of it on TV, but I've always missed this bit. And I think it's a pretty crucial bit to explain her behavior. But yeah, I was like, oh, okay, even though we know that's not really what's happening to her, like Daryl is doing this to her. And again, you could argue the women are subconsciously doing this to her.
They're contributing.
But yeah, I actually really appreciated this was in here, even if I'm kind of like, okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure that the science is sciencing in terms of this explanation. If people know better and they're like, no, this is a legitimate thing that can happen. I was just like, I don't know. I've seen plenty of people with broken bones where they don't suddenly go histrionic and wild.
Well, it's because the doctor makes it sound like it's very common, but maybe it's rare, but it's not abnormal. Maybe that's the thing.
Maybe. Okay, folks, let us know.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, that all ends when she basically accuses Suki of contributing to this, like that there's evil afoot, and then she walks in with flowers, and it's like her. Okay,
because the movie also gets about this movie is gross quite often, and but not in a gory, bloody way. But like even in this scene when Clyde is feeding Felicia with oatmeal, and she keeps talking, he keeps trying to feed her. I'm like, dude, just stop.
Just
but, like,
stop.
Like Veronica Cartwright really like leans into like it's not body horror, but it's just grossness in this movie.
Yeah, she really drew a bit of a short stick in terms of, okay, all of the grody stuff involving food is going to happen to me, apparently.
I genuinely can't believe neither one of us had cherry pits as our thing at the beginning of this episode, but we'll talk about it.
Yeah. Okay. So Jane is the next to be seduced. So she is unhappy with her performance, and so she's practicing on her cello, but she practices so hard that she ends up cutting herself. Like there's a desperation here, but also she's very practiced, like you can tell that she's the kind of OCD one of the three where I need to be perfect because I don't have any distractions like a husband or a child.
But and this bit of her with the cello though, because I mean basically what we'll learn is like she is too uptight. She's not feeling the passion in her music. Yeah, exactly. I think this is kind of tropey for like a musician character in a film. Maybe it wasn't at this point. I'm sure I feel like it was by this point even, but But I think Nicholson's presence in the scene, he quite literally spreads her legs to get her to loosen up. And I just find that very deeply humorous.
It's honestly, like, I have literally the word euphemism in here because... So he arrives when she's practicing and she serves him, I think it's tea. It could be coffee.
I think it's tea. It's tea.
But he talks about how he has a sweet tooth because she's like, how many cubes of sugar would you like? And he, 4, which is way too much for a single cup. But, he says, I got a sweet tooth in every capacity. And you're like, yes, we get it. You're a lecherous, horny fucking teenager. But she's so distracted by this that I wrote, her cup overfloweth or runneth over. And you're just like, that is a euphemism. Like, she began
100%.
What?
Yes.
I also really like the way that this scene is shot. So his face is partially in shadow as he talks about, like, this is a bit of exposition for him that he was drawn to Eastwick and that he doesn't believe any of this hocus pocus about witches being burned in the Lennox house. And this to me is the most sort of I know what you want to hear as a woman, and as a man who's trying to get in your fucking pants, I'm going to say it to you. So he says, the stuff about the witches isn't true. It's really about trying to get rid of midwives because male doctors were afraid of female power. And you're just like, if I was a woman who considered myself feminist, that would be a panty dropper. It's like, oh my God, this man is a feminist. Like he knows, he gets it, right? He understands that the patriarchy is evil and we should be, giving power to women and so on. It's like, oh, and now, let me just spread your legs.
Okay, but the period at the end of this is men are such cocksuckers, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So let's resume practice. Let's get her less prissy. Let's let her find a passion in this performance. And she is working this bow so hard that it starts to smoke. And then we light the fucking cello on fire. And then we just go to town on each other.
Every time we cut back to, because we're almost doing like a shot reverse shot with him at the piano and her playing the cello. And every time like there's another strand of her hair that's like loosed itself from its binding. It's
wild.
I actually like, it's so cartoonish. Like this feels like a Looney Tunes segment almost. And I do wish there were more moments like this in the film, because I think this is when I think you can feel George Miller having the most fun in these kinds of sequences.
Yeah. Like this is a good time and the audience is firmly on board with this. I mean, I'm not going to lie. This does also feel very familiar in terms of slightly sexually repressed woman gets seduced by the dark side in whatever form it may take. And then all of a sudden the hair is down. It is big. It's curly. We're dressing a little bit more slutty. And like, I'm thinking of Sigourney Weaver's character in Ghostbusters.
Oh, honestly, that might be the same wig the students. Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe Cher lent it to Sigourney Weaver, and then she lent it to Susan Sarandon.
6 degrees of wigginess. Yes.
Well, I was just surprised when Cher said it was Susan Sarandon said it was Cher's wig, because I was like, but that's a red-headed wig. Like
the color does not work.
It doesn't fit. I don't know. Maybe they dyed it. I don't know. Can you dye wigs? I don't know.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess it's real hair. So.
Yeah. I do want to say I love the idea that we have 3 different women and it's a blonde, a brunette, and a redhead, because it's so obvious when you think about it, but it's also just a nice encapsulation of we're just cherry picking from like the regular types of ladies.
Would we call Cher's hair brunette or black?
I mean black, but
if
you're looking
it's
at
a stand-in. Yeah, for sure. It's a stand-in for I got it.
Because I also think like there are parts where Susan Sarandon's hair doesn't look red, and then it looks more red when she becomes
bigger
seduced.
It gets.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, the brunette becomes the redhead.
Honestly, that's what I thought. I was like, was her hair red at the beginning of this?
Yeah. You know what? Good point. I like that. We'll go. It's magic.
Okay, so we have seduced 2 out of the 3 women. So after dropping off her dozens and dozens of children with Alex's daughter, she and Suki bike over to Daryl's house, and this is an opportunity for Alex to talk about, I didn't really expect to fuck this guy, but it was kind of amazing, so I'm gonna introduce you to him. You're gonna love him. And when we arrive, Jane in her full sexually blossomedness is already waiting for them. So she's got the big hair, she's in a fucking bikini just hanging out in the chaise lounge.
Yeah.
Like,
I will say this is my least favorite character development of the film, because I mean, you mentioned there's animosity that grows between the women, but like it is mostly in this scene with Susan Sarandon. Like I don't like that the movie does this, and I'm not picking up on satire in these moments.
It definitely feels like women who become interested in the same man will automatically turn against each other. And it's a very familiar storyline that we've seen a bunch. And I don't know if this would have played better in 1987. Like, would it have felt a bit more fresh? Because we haven't seen countless stories of women who are just like, oh, we used to be friends, but then this man came between us and I choose the man over you.
But I don't think, do you get, it's extreme with Jane for me, but I don't think you really get that from Alex at this point.
It's tricky. I think we're getting it a little bit, like when she defends her outfit, because Jane definitely says like, oh, did you come to fix the plumbing? And Alex is like, no, did you it is gently catty.
I guess because Jane's ire right now is against Michelle Pfeiffer, because Daryl starts showing interest in Suki more so than the other two. Alex's kind of like acidic barbs towards Jane is more like, you're being a bitch, shut up, like stop. I don't get like, oh my god, like Daryl's more into you than me, like I'm mad. I don't get that from her. I do get that from Jane.
Okay, I do get it from Alex, but it's a
Hmm.
bit more understated. I think Jane's is very much on the surface, and Jane will
Yeah.
continue to be the sort of most invested in being with Daryl for the rest of the film.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. To the point where she's happy to get pregnant.
Well, I mean, that was part of her storyline, right? Like her husband divorced her in
Yeah.
part because she couldn't get pregnant.
Yeah. Oh, I guess that makes sense. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah. I will say there's a line later on. I can't remember exactly where it is. I removed it from my notes for time, but now I'm going to bring it back just because you raised Alex. There's a line where Alex says, well, I mean, I get it with you, Jane, because you don't have a husband or children that you need to look after. And I was just like, that is the meanest fucking thing that you could say to Jane.
Yeah, I think I missed that line because yeah, that's
It's
a
not
harsh
cool.
dig. Yeah,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. Okay, let's play tennis. I'm just going to say there's lots of silly floating ball action. This feels like the women starting to understand that they do have some power, but I think also they don't understand that they're always the ones doing it. I think they mostly think that it's
Daryl's
Daryl
doing
bringing it out.
But I do like the evolution because I feel like again, like any conflict they had walking into this tennis match is kind of
Hmm.
mostly gone by the time they leave it. So I
Yeah,
do like the tennis scene as a stand-in for a sex scene or an orgy,
yeah,
I guess, for lack of a better term. But like
correct.
I like that you can see them move out of like hostility and into like, oh no, we're
Hmm.
just having fun. It's like when Suki bumps the tennis ball with her butt. I'm
With
like,
her
oh,
butt. Yeah,
that's fun.
yeah. Yeah, because I think they realize that when we have a good time, our magic also operates differently, which is something that will come into
Right.
play a little bit later when we do the laughing, levitating kind of bit.
Well, I guess that's which, by the way, when did the laughing, like, where did they learn that? That never came up earlier in the movie, did it?
No.
But I guess it's the thing is, yeah, so right now they think they need Daryl to have the powers as strong as they are. And the
Yeah.
whole point is we're leaning into, oh no, we just need us to have
Yeah.
this power. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is interesting. Like, I think it's a pretty obvious message to impart on a female audience, but also it's something that the film doesn't actually address very
No.
explicitly. Like, there's never this moment where they say, we don't need him. We can do this ourselves. It's more like when we're together, things happen.
And there's two ways of looking at this. You can look at that as, wow, that's kind of lazy. Like, why wouldn't you highlight that? Or
Hmm.
the film is trusting its audience to pick up on that message.
Exactly. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
like to think it's the latter,
I would
but
like to. I mean,
yeah.
again, because I like everyone involved with this movie, so
Hmm.
I would hope
Well.
that's the case, but you never know.
Okay. So, one of my favorite visual moments in this movie. So, yes, we finished playing tennis. Once again, it starts to rain. I think Daryl is very much visually codified with the rain. Like he drives the environment in that capacity. So he uses this as an opportunity to get them inside. And then we're in the pool and everybody has their own sort of individual floaty donut things. But there's this moment where Suki and Daryl are connecting, and you see, like, I had to rewind because I was like, where do the other two go? They were there a moment ago, and you
Yeah.
can see them. They actually just float out the sides of the frame, and then they're just gone. So it's almost like
Oh.
Daryl shooed them away magically, but it's done so inobtrusively that it just
Yeah.
feels like, oh, okay, they just drift away, and this is the third and final seduction.
Which I would argue is maybe the least fun seduction, but
Oh
I
yeah,
think
no,
this is probably when it sucks. I think this is Michelle Pfeiffer's best material that she gets to work with. Like I think the "Are you going to seduce me too?" Like
yeah.
I don't know. It feels very
In some ways it's more
vulnerable.
knowing than the other women, right? Like I think he catches them off guard and he says the things that they want to hear, so then they succumb to him.
Mhm.
Whereas with Suki, it seems like she actively seeks it out. Like he's already done this to my friends, presumably this is what he's doing to me, so I'm actually accepting it. Like I'm moving into danger. It feels closer to a kind of vampire narrative, like a
Yeah.
Mina Dracula kind of deal.
Yeah, but I do like the way it's shot. You know, we're in the pool. We have this kind of a gorgeous scenery behind them of whatever this wall looks
Hmm.
like. But yeah, I think this is the most like the best material that Pfeiffer gets to work with in the film. At least
Yeah.
on a solo, like on her own level playing field. But
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah. So they kiss, they sink under the surface, and mission accomplished. So now we get to see another variation of a 4G group sex number. So we get opera playing on the boombox, and we see Daryl pushing these sexually liberated women around this ballroom full of pink balloons.
oh my god, the pink balloon budget for this movie.
Right? Yeah. We just blew it all in the pink balloons. In my notes, I wrote, is this just Mormonism? Is this about, like having a bunch of different wives?
I mean, well, and that's the thing is like, I mean, the movie I think is really progressive for presenting not even a throuple, but it's essentially a polyamorous relationship. But again,
Yeah.
it doesn't. It never says that about it. It never calls it
No.
that. Except the closest we get to it is the townspeople gossiping after Felicia like puts it in there.
Yeah.
But again, yeah, it feels like the film is afraid to really dig into that, and that is bothersome to me.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? We just had this conversation about how we don't need to talk about, oh, okay, when we come together, we make the magic, right? Like the film trusts us, we think, as an audience to come to that conclusion ourselves. But it also is afraid to suggest that these women are actively fucking each other. Because I think there's an easy way that you could misread this movie and be like, oh, no, they're not fucking each other. They're all just fucking him.
They're taking turns with him, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is like, if you read the book, they are actually far more sexually active with each other. It's a bunch of Daryl voyeuristically watching them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's them actively saying, oh, I want to touch my friend. I'm going to be sexually active with her.
Well, and again, like I really don't remember a lot of the details of the book except for like the big things. But I could see how you could also read that and be like, wow, this is a man writing about a bunch of like this lesbian fantasy, and then the male character in the film is this voyeur just wanting to watch a kinky lesbian sex.
You know what? I swear, folks, I did not set Trace up to cue me that way, but that literally feeds into the note that I'm going to reference. So there's a piece that Jen Chaney did on Vulture. I think it was for the 30th anniversary of the film.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those numbers work. Okay.
2017. That's 30
there
years.
There we go. Nailed it. So the piece is called The Witches of Eastwick is a fascinating movie to watch post-Weinstein, which unfortunately is not a title that has aged well because we are not post-Weinstein at all.
Yeah.
But Chaney says, by the time the movie shows them all lounging around Daryl's mansion, the women's hair all wilded out, their bodies draped in lingerie, and their lips sucking cherry after cherry right off the stem, it seems pretty apparent that this is pure male fantasy, right down to the part where the women are only emboldened after landing in a brutish man's orbit. But it's so over the top, though, it can also be viewed as a satire of such fantasies, which makes it hard to take the misogyny inherent in this tableau seriously. And I really like that, right?
Yeah, no, I think it's almost a thing where like both things can be true.
Yes.
It's one of the few texts where it's like, wow, really depending on where you're coming from, like when you're watching this film, like you can have two wildly different reads of this. And
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I do think that's really fascinating. Even when it comes to the male gaze, though, I mean, none of these women are nude in this movie. We don't get any nudity from these actresses, which I'm sure is a nudity clause thing. But even still, it's like, I mean, yeah, they're shot sexily, but I don't. It is literally the male gaze, but I don't feel like the camera's lecherous. Like, but again, that's my viewpoint coming into this movie.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you. I mean, they definitely begin to dress more provocatively. Like it's a lot of bare midriffs and halter tops, but I read that as the movie's interpretation of these women finally feel sexy again.
Yeah.
And they're trying to express that outwardly, and they're less afraid of their sexuality, which I, as someone who appreciates women owning their sexuality and having agency, I was just like, no, this is empowering. I like it, because I think there's a negative reading of this where it's like, oh, well, now they're acting and dressing like sluts. And they get called as such. There's the scene where Jane is literally slut shamed by the other women in Eastwick. And, we learn that, Sookie's daughter apparently gets told by somebody, oh, well, your mom is a D word now.
Oh, yeah. Which that's the closest mention of queerness in this film that we will get, by the way.
It is, yeah. But I guess I think that there's that flip reading of it, right? Where you say, oh, okay, well, I read this as a bit of a condemnation of the small-minded people of Eastwick who are extremely repressive in their values. Like, think about Walter's reading at that school assembly, right? Where he's all about American values, family values. Yeah. And you're just like, oh, okay, this is, of course, the wrong place for sexually liberated women to be because they're all going to be very conservative.
Yeah. So I like that. I mean, again, I like being able to say, well, this is where it's bad or wrong. but it's also like kind of good.
Yeah, it's like we're having our cake and eating it too. And I think the movie invites those kinds of discussions, even if I'm not sure that it intended for us to be having these discussions.
Exactly. And I do think the fact, I mean, as we've already said, like it's a male director, a male screenwriter, based on a book by a male author. Like that adds layers to it. But what those layers are debatable.
I mean, the fact that there are so many female fans of this film and they do find that it has feminist messaging, I think cannot be denied, despite the fact that, it was created almost entirely by men.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get to an important scene narratively. We're in our honeymoon phase with Daryl. All the women are hanging out. And I'm just like, none of you are working anymore. Are you getting paid? Are you getting fired from your jobs?
Are you watching your children? Your 5 children?
Your dozens or hundreds of children. Sookie, where are the kids? Yeah. But he is videotaping them, Trace. So he asks each woman what her worst fear is. So Jane is afraid of growing old, Alex is afraid of snakes, and Sookie is afraid of pain. And I'm just going to say, the craft called because we lifted this whole fucking sale for a movie 9 years later.
100%. The snakes thing too. I was like, wow. I do wish these fears were a bit
more interesting.
Yeah, kind of like. Well, it's the thing. It's like when it happens. I think when he starts using the fears against them. Oh, it's kind of again to me the snake one is the coolest because it's like, oh wow, these are real fucking snakes we have in this thing. Yeah. But yeah, I feel like Jane's and Sookie's, because I think you could also argue that a woman fearing getting older, while absolutely valid, is also kind of tropey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And again, not helping the sort of claims of, oh, well, these characterizations are a little bit slight, or, oh, we're really playing on, which I think works better in the book because the women are meaner and crueler and a little bit more malicious. Whereas here, they're just, they're kind of nice. And you're like, I don't know. Do I really buy that Jane's biggest fear is that she gets older? Like, it's going to happen.
This is very much a movie problem, too. But you said earlier, it's like, oh, the women are finally realizing how sexy they are, that they're finally feeling sexy. And it's like, in a world where Michelle Pfeiffer and Cher and Susan Sarandon don't feel sexy. Which, again, I'm sure there have all been points in their lives where they don't. But it's like, come on, y'all. These are movie stars here.
And honestly, at this point in the film, the hair is so blown out and they are dressing so beautifully. Like, these women are so fucking gorgeous in this movie. Like, it's really nice.
I mean, we will get that shot later where they're all like when they're about to seduce Daryl and like where they're all in the bed.
Oh my god!
And like Susan Sarandon is like basically like gyrating on the bedpost. I was like, this is hot.
It is hot. It is hot. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so this is where the wheels sort of fall off, and we discover that the town is gossiping about them. Felicia has asked her husband to write this very mean-spirited editorial in the newspaper. I do want to say the funniest, maybe unintentional line for me is when Jane is getting read the slut shamey act in the store, and as she leaves, you just hear somebody on ADR say, "She's not wearing a bra."
Tramp.
Oh no, a woman not wearing a bra.
But I think though, because this is 1987, so we're almost 40 years removed from this film, but it's also like a small town New England of 1987. So like, I totally buy all these very conservative values that this town has.
Oh, absolutely. I just think like, in the grand scheme of things, like
the big issue,
it's not the fact that these women are literally engaging in a polyamorous affair, 3 women and 1 man in the mansion up on the hill. It's she's not wearing a bra.
I really would have appreciated an 80-yard line of like, where are her kids? Like, honestly, like that would have been great.
She's a bad mother.
Yeah, because to me, that's the biggest crime these women do in this movie is that they ignore their children.
Oh my god, Sookie has hundreds and hundreds of kids.
She's got another one on the way.
Oh my god. Yeah. Okay. So Sookie does confront Clyde at the office about this. He admits that he seems almost apologetic about it. Like, I really needed to do something because my wife is having a meltdown about this. So I feel bad, but I did it. So the women decide, okay, maybe we need to cool things off. So at dinner, we've got them discussing, okay, maybe we should take a breather and not see each other for a little bit just to let the rumor mill die down. Right. And Daryl, this is where we really start to see the shift in his behavior, right? His plans are being threatened. So he says, no, we're a family and I don't want that to end. So let's eat cherries.
Okay. So I feel like this is one of the first scenes I ever saw from this movie. And
if you know anything about this movie, it is this scene.
And I used to have a real problem watching people vomit on screen. So like this scene like is very disgusting to me. It's not even just the vomit coming out of Veronica Cartwright's mouth. It's that it coats the room they're in. And so like this is a shot where the lamp is just dripping with this viscous like stomach bile. It is the grossest thing. And granted, I should mention before this, Veronica Cartwright is having a blast, like feeling herself up. Like she is like just basically masturbating over her clothes in front of Clyde. And I mean, I was like, this must have been a real fun day to shoot.
Oh my God. I mean, to get to do this level of physicality with the performance, and she's having like a religious hysteric moment, like a religious hysteria moment. And you're right, it definitely feels like she is feeling herself, like, oh my God, it's up in me, I'm feeling it. And then she has to do all of this spontaneous vomit projection, which we should do the thing.
Like because the Foley work on the stomach before she starts vomiting.
Oh, the rumble.
We keep getting the stomach gurgles. Yeah, the burble gurts. It is wild.
Also, just shout out to the prop person for finding and or making a bowl of cherries this fucking big, because it looks like there could be 1,000 cherries in here.
Well, I was thinking too, because I don't know how they are for you in Canada, but cherries are like really expensive.
Oh, they're
so
expensive.
Except for around July 4th when they're in season and they're always on sale. And I was like, they filmed this movie in July and August, so they had a deal on these cherries.
And half the budget of that $22 million went to cherries. Yeah, because we went through so many.
This is a movie original concept. This doesn't happen in the book, and I just like why cherry pits? Why are we doing this? Like who wanted to put this in this movie? I'm not saying it's bad. I think it's fascinatingly odd, but like it's such a weird thing to it's a choice exactly.
I'm not going to lie. I can't help but think that there is something to do with the euphemism of it, right? Like we're taking these women's cherries because this is their first real act of malicious spell casting, right? And also, if you think about it from that sexual perspective, like that's why Felicia is feeling herself up, because something is inside of her. Like she is being penetrated. So.
Well, I am a little glad too, because I think that, again, there's another version where it's like, it's apple seed. It's because of the forbidden fruit, the temptation, and things like that. And so I'm kind of happy we don't do that. Yeah.
So basic. I'm done.
Maybe there is some like religious iconography of cherries that I'm not aware of, but I think
possible.
It's cool.
Yeah. It's also a very like sweet fruit, which feels like it fits in well with Daryl's sweet tooth.
Well, I also think too, because yes, we're watching the women eat, like sexually eat these cherries, but the act of spitting out the pits is inherently unsexy. So I like that we're kind of mixing the two things.
Yeah, spitters are quitters. Come on, ladies. Yeah, okay. So this escalates. Felicia begins vomiting. I do enjoy the line, like, Clyde is almost nonplussed. Felicia, what did you eat? Sir, your wife is dangerously ill. This is a moment I do feel like the editing actually, it takes
hurts.
A bit of, it hurts. Yes, it hurts the film, because he just kind of gets frustrated with her and he sort of turns away from her. And then we cut to the next morning as we see her body getting taken out of the house on a stretcher.
So it's kind of weird. Like, so you miss like a little, he approaches her and then we cut to the exterior shot of the house. And I think we see shadows in the windows, but we don't see a shadow like raising a fire poker and coming down. But we cut back in.
That.
Yes, yeah. But we cut back in and we see him walking with the fire poker, and he has blood, either like a streak of blood on his shirt or some blood on the poker. But that's it. Like we don't really witness him killing her, and we don't witness her body, and so we get cut. But I was like, it's not.
It just doesn't work, right?
Yeah, it was weird. I mean, like obviously when you see the body being whipped out, you understand what happened, but it's like he killed her for spitting cherries. Okay,
yeah,
okay. But again, I think if the religious stuff in the town maybe been, because we don't get the sense really that Clyde is super religious outside of the fact that he's in church. Yeah. But I think there's a where you can communicate, he thinks his wife is like possessed by the devil, so he kills her, and that's not clear in this scene.
It reads more like he is frustrated with her. Like, I'm up to my ears with you, ma'am, because you are acting so unhinged. I just can't take it anymore. But like, I'm sorry, if somebody is spontaneously vomiting, I think that they're ill. I'm going to rush them to the emergency room. I'm not going to beat them to death with a fire poker.
Yeah. I'm also going to wager that the Foley effect of the cherries is marbles hitting the ground. Or maybe it's those pearls.
Maybe. Folks, if you have any insights, let us know. What do you think? Okay, yeah. So the women observe that Felicia is dead and Clyde is presumably being arrested. So, okay, our magic is now having a negative effect on things. So it does feel like Sookie is the one who is most interested in stopping this. Like, she really understands, okay, this is not good for us. Jane is not in agreement with this. Alex is kind of mediating, but we do have the women being very angry and the animosity is back. But I like that this moment introduces a literal rift where like the ground just opens up beneath them and they run away.
And again, I wish that, because we'll get that more in the climax. Like, I wish there were more moments like that. But again, I guess the whole thing is, like, their powers are slowly growing. And I do think, and again, like I said, I get the change from like the giving Felicia cancer in the book to like this. But I do think that because they were explicitly complicit in the book in her death, I think that makes their shift to like, we have to like stop this. Like, this is bad. Is a bit. I like that more as a plot development than, oh no, like our magic made Felicia vomit and her husband killed her because of it. Like that doesn't really like work as well for me as a character motivation, but it's fine.
Yeah, because I think you could even, maybe misread is too strong, but I think you could maybe misconstrue that, oh, well, they didn't actually do it. It was Daryl when he was saying, oh, you know, keep eating these cherries. He's the one who did all of this. And the women didn't actually contribute to it at all. They're
unwitting accomplices. And that lack of responsibility there is like, okay, I get it, but like, it wasn't your fault, girls. Like, you don't have to feel bad about this. Also, it was Felicia, but...
I do feel bad for her, though, by the end. Though. I'm just like, oh, she's not well anymore. Like, when he drags her out of church because she's talking about sins and dildos and anal intercourse and stuff, you're just like, oh, she is far gone at this point.
Well, here's the obligatory bye, Felicia joke.
There we go. Folks, we've done it. You expected it. We delivered.
We did it.
We did it.
I did it.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna take a breather, and this time it's not about Daryl wanting us to stick together. The women decide amongst themselves they're not going to go anymore. So we see Daryl at the dinner table by himself. They didn't call. He's feeling very lonely. So we get this kind of gentle montage of him calling around. The women aren't either taking his calls, or when he does talk to them, they just refuse to see him. So Alex won't talk to him on the phone. Sookie won't invite him in. He's very upset. The rain increases.
There's a good moment from Cher when she's on the phone with him too, where she's crying, which I do appreciate, because it shows they actually do care about him. But I also love that Daryl from this point forward takes on the stereotypical traits of the crazy ex-girlfriend that you will see in many movies and rom-coms at the time.
Yeah. He just kind of like can't help himself anymore. He loses his mind because these women have rejected him, and he needs them back.
And that's again where I think the satire is working for me in this case.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get a new development. We see Jane at the doctor's, and she has discovered that she is 3 to 4 weeks pregnant. So she rushes to Daryl to tell him the news, because as we mentioned, she is the one who's the easiest or the most amenable to coming back to Daryl.
Right.
And she just happens to overhear him and see him watching this tape about their worst fears. And she sees, when he is watching her fear about growing old, that the fruit in the bowl in front of him rots, and her hands and her face begin to get old. And she realizes, oh shit, this guy is actually going to weaponize her fears against us. So she rushes to Alex, and this is where we get the snakes.
Yeah, I love the snakes. And then question for you, though. So Jane and Alex, they have very quick fear tactic things thrown against them. Like Jane doesn't stay old. She just gets a vision of being old.
Yeah.
Sookie gets fucked in this scenario. Like, she is
Truly.
like, oh, she's dying.
Yeah. So we rescue Alex from these snakes. Again, good work with the snakes. Clearly, these are not CGI. They're great. They look fantastic. And then when we get to Sookie, we see this pomegranate that Daryl is like cutting into. And It's interesting because initially I thought, oh, she's pregnant also, because I
Yeah.
remembered something about this movie. And I was like, she's pregnant and he is causing a miscarriage, because we see her freaking out and we see blood on her hands. And I thought she
Yeah.
is bleeding from her down there bits.
I think, though, out of all of them, the one you would want to threaten a miscarriage with is Jane,
Mhm.
because she's the one that really wants a baby.
Exactly. Yeah. Like this, I agree with you that I don't think the fears were as interesting or impactful as they could have been. And then this part just doesn't really feel as thematically connected as we could have made it.
Yeah, the only reason I can think is because Suki is quote unquote the weakest of the three witches, and so it's the easiest to make her the victim in this scenario. But again, that to me is also like a screenwriting.
It's a shortcut.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think Michelle Pfeiffer is selling the
Oh, yeah.
pain, and, you know, it's very harrowing because you realize she just reads younger than the other two as well, even though I think they're actually meant to be around the same age. But like Michelle Pfeiffer looks young, and it's very, oh shit.
Because Cher's 40 at this point. Because remember, she had her 40th birthday before she got the part.
Sidebar, she looks fucking great. Would not have called 40.
Good for 40. Like, oh my god. I mean, well, because by this point she was already having work done, I think, because like it was in the tabloids a lot. But like the work here looks good.
Looks great.
Like it looks really good.
Yeah. So all this to say that Suki does end up in the hospital, and we see Alex and Jane minding her thousands and thousands of kids in this waiting room. So
yeah.
They manage to get in to see her, and each woman confesses, okay, they're pregnant and we need to stop this. Because even though Suki's in the hospital, she is still hemorrhaging blood and they cannot get it to stop. So it's like, somebody needs to go to Daryl and take care of this. So Alex says, I will go. So we see her go, and this is Daryl at his lowest point. He is... I mean, I kind of love this because he's so reprehensible and self-centered and narcissistic. So he complains that he can't help because he's too upset, because the women have given him no gratitude. And what he really wants is respect and affection and trust.
Someone to take care of me for once.
Yeah. And when Alex says, you're hurting people, he protests that he couldn't possibly be hurting them because you don't hurt the people that you love. And I just read in my notes, oh, wow, he is a typical male abuser.
Oh, 100%.
And he's just like, no, I couldn't hurt you because I love you. And I would never hurt you then.
I think it's crucial too that it's Alex in this scene, because he's trying to gaslight her, but she's not going to buy this shit. But I feel like if it was Jane in this scenario, she would buy into this shit.
100%. And maybe that's why we needed it to happen to Suki. Maybe that's why we needed it to happen to her. And that's why we had to send Alex here.
Yeah.
I don't love it, but it explains it.
But it could have also been a really good way. Actually, on the flip side, if you had Suki or Jane coming into this, it would be maybe a character development moment for them to finally stand up to Daryl.
Right. Yeah. Because at this point, like, we're on the cusp of saying, okay, he is bad, he is hurting us, and we need to now take action against him. Mm-hmm. But first, we have to get him to stop Suki's pain. So Alex consents to a kiss, and she does confirm that she missed him. And all of a sudden, the pain stops.
I will tell you too. So there's a moment, my mother-in-law watching this. We were watching it, and Suki, like she's like, "Oh, the pain's gone." But then there's a moment where she looks at Jane. What the moment is they're sharing a moment where they're like, "Okay, we need to
now's the time to act." Yeah.
But the way it's shot, like Michelle Pfeiffer kind of like looks off into the distance, and my mother-in-law thought she had died. She goes, "Oh no!"
Oh. I mean, a very different movie if we killed one of these three.
I was like, that'd be terrible. I love that she had that moment where she was like, oh my God, like she's dead.
Yeah. So this is the scene where the three women then go to Daryl. We see him preparing in the bathroom. We should note he almost exclusively wears I think silk robes and pajamas throughout most of this film.
Really high-waisted pajamas, though. They're like halfway up his belly.
Hello, welcome back to the 80s / where we are now, because we did this. But a lot of people have read a kind of Hugh Hefner-ness to this. So it's Hugh and his Playboy bunnies, or, Daryl and his witches. Also, we never say the word witch in this movie.
Which is weird.
Ba-da-ba-bing.
Yes.
Okay, so yes, this is probably the most pinup that we will see the girls is when they're all waiting for him on the bed, and
Oh my
it is
god.
hot, but you're just like, oh, I kind of love that we know that this is a performance.
I think this is great. This is like every male fantasy, and they're using it against him, which is great.
Yes, yeah. Okay, so let's set up the finale. The next day, yes, we send Daryl and Fidel out for secret pregnancy cravings. And so they're off to get bagels and ice cream. And this buys the three women enough time to hastily make a wax effigy.
And for the rest of this film, we are going to get this score like booming, booming, booming. The Dance of the Witches is playing throughout all of this.
Yes.
I can kind of get some of the critiques and reviews where it's like, oh, like, this is just like a special effects showcase extravaganza. It's not really character based, whatever.
I disagree.
I think this is really fun.
It's very fun. I don't think the special effects are over the top. Like, this isn't, claymation, some kind of like, sure, we're going to get some weird demon thing with Daryl when his body sort of falls apart. Whatever, it's brief. I think that this is madcap comedy.
100%. But I guess the flip side is it's giving Nicholson so much to do and play around with and work with. And it's really for the witches. It's like, oh, we're just watching them throw shit into a bowl and like poke a doll. Like this isn't really their scene, even though it is their scene. It's their revenge, or not revenge, but retribution.
Yeah, I don't entirely agree, because I do think that the women are giving great performances. Like, in a way, they're kind of gleeful and excited. There is a little bit of trepidation about Jane. Oh, we don't want to hurt him. And it's like, no, bitch, we're just trying to send him away. But, when we see them doing all the stuff, I do think that because of the way it's edited, we also very clearly understand that, they're in charge of this. So we're going to do something. And then, we get to watch Nicholson do the over-the-top reaction. And it is very big. But
oh, yeah. And I think we add the suspense, too, because at a certain point, it's like, we have to finish this before he gets back. And so there is, like, genuine suspense in the moment they're trying to, like, clean up all these feathers and, like, pull the feathers out of their enormous hair.
It's a wild, like, wigs on wigs at this point.
It really is.
I do really enjoy the moment, though, where we blow on the feathers and we get to watch Daryl roll down Main Street and into the church. Like, we've not really talked a ton about the religion, because I truly do think it's mostly just there to...
It's one-dimensional.
It's one-dimensional, and I think it's purposely just to say the town is very conservative. So make of that what you will. But I love that he, the devil gets blown into the church and then proceeds to vomit cherry juice all over the parishioners. It's kind of wild.
I wrote in my notes, I was like, why are these people that are covered in vomit just standing there? Like, I would be running home to clean, like, immediately, or use the holy water or something. Yeah.
And most of these people I don't think have even met him, because he spends no time in town. So it's just like, man rolls into church, vomits on us, blames women. Like, what's my problem? Women.
Okay, so I don't have this, like, this monologue verbatim, but I just love, like, the... God, do you think God knew what he was doing when he created woman? I really want to know.
It is so hammy, and Nicholson this is where I think, who else could have possibly taken on this role, because he is eating the scenery. Like, it is so, I'm not going to say it's campy, because I truly just think it's a very inspired performance, but this feels like a classic Nicholson performance.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. Going back to your whole, like, have Ray Nicholson play Daryl in, like, a remake of this. I have not read The Widows of Eastwick, so I don't know if Daryl plays a part in it. But, honestly, bring back all the women and just have Daryl be played by his son. Like,
oh my God. So
would
fun.
Watch.
Yeah. That'd be hilarious. Because, I mean, ironically enough, Jack Nicholson has definitely gotten older. He's a little pudgier. He now only wears, like, the colored glasses, I think, that help people with their sight, not going to
I think he doesn't act as much either, so I don't know if he would be able to commit to something like a role like this again,
Yeah, but if you look at the women, they are all active, still looking completely fucking gorgeous. Like, I could absolutely see it, like, oh yeah, this is 20 years later, 30 years later, and I mean, it's so easy to say, and then you just cast early adult or late teen characters as the three boys. Done.
Yeah. Well, actually, they have to be adults by this point. Remember, they're it's like 40 years later.
I don't think we would make a 40 years later sequel, though, would we?
Actually, though, but if they're all prodigy of the devil, like we
Yeah.
could just have whatever.
They stay
make
young.
Make up a devil rule. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have any other thoughts about the whole sort of action sequence? I do like the bit with the dog, because anytime you're going to do a comedy slapstick part and you've got, a dog gets into the mix, and then even just the effect of Jack Nicholson getting thrown through the windshield.
Yeah. Oh, the whole
good.
car driving scene, and it's funny because this is like a anecdote that's not really related, but like it reminds me of the scene in Addams Family Values whenever
Oh yes, that's another good comparison.
when she's driving back to the thing, which is funny considering the actor that plays Lurch is Fidel in this movie. But yeah, no, I think this is all very fun. I love that the car is driving by itself, and then I mean, these women are just trying to brush up all these fucking feathers.
Yeah, so it's hasty cleanup. I don't know who they think they're fooling, that he comes in and they're just like, darling, what's wrong? Like we're there with a banana and a book, as though we've been doing nothing for the last 30 minutes.
Oh, Cher holding the banana actually I thought was really funny.
Just like, what do I do with my hands? Banana?
I think Jane is holding a book, but she's like standing by the mantle, so she's like reading while standing.
Yeah,
I was
reading
like, no one does
very
that.
awkwardly. And then Sookie doesn't even have anything. She's just like, where are my millions and millions of children?
Yeah, she's like looking under the chair. I'm sorry, I was looking for my child under here. I thought they might be under here.
Yeah, maybe they're under the bed. I don't know.
But again, this is like a screenwriting thing where it's, we have to get the doll because they realize he's angry. It's like, okay, but you hid the doll in the kitchen, which is a long way away. So you really should have like hid the doll under that fucking chair in the room you're standing in. But whatever, it's fine.
Yeah. But then if we did that, we wouldn't be able to do this big action sequence where he blows them down the hall and Jane goes over the balcony and she nearly eats shit on the marble floor below.
I don't know if this is an intentional homage or not, but did you call like the Omen here?
No.
So this is how Lee Remick's character gets paralyzed or gets put in the hospital in the Omen before Mrs. Blaylock kills her. But like, I was like, because we're also dealing with like demon spawn in this movie, and like this is like again a woman holding onto a staircase and like falling down. Like this felt like an Omen reference, but I don't know if it was intentional or not.
I don't know. I feel like people would probably say, no, it's a bit of a reach.
It's a stretch,
but, I mean, you saying it, I think maybe.
It's the only scene I can think of a woman hanging off a banister or a stairway in a big mansion.
Yeah.
But anyway.
So needless to say, we are saved by the power of laughter. That's what makes sure that Jane doesn't just absolutely faceplant on this floor. But
I feel like there's a deleted scene somewhere before this where they talk about laughter. Like I just it makes no sense that this is the thing that saves them, but sure.
Well, there is the moment where, so after the kind of implied 4G in the ballroom with all the pink balloons, we see that I think it's Jane flies up and she hangs on the chandelier. And then the women all start laughing and they levitate in that moment.
Oh, so we're supposed the movie's trusting us to pick up on that again. Yeah.
So I definitely was like, oh, right. Okay. I remember that moment,
sense.
but no one told them, laughter will make you levitate. It was just something they discovered on their own.
Yeah. You got to remember it. I do love that shot though of Sarandon's probably stunt double hitting the chandelier.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I thought you meant before she like just
no. Like when she gets like tossed into the chandelier, it's like, oh
yeah, it's fun. Who among us would not like to hang from a chandelier?
Cue that Sia song.
Let's not say we did. Okay, so we run into the kitchen. We should note that at this point, obviously Daryl has been through quite a lot, but over the course of the back half of the film, he is becoming increasingly mutant dog-like. He's really loping. Like when you said wolf earlier, I was like, oh, this is where he worked on his loping skills.
Kind of, yeah. And also like the sounds he's making, because it's a combination of like growling, but also the verbal gurts because he's been vomiting those cherries. So he just sounds very wet and gross as he's like, and I do love. Did you think we were going to get kind of more of a facial reveal? Because we're doing all this from behind him, and then we finally reveal him, and it's like, oh, he just looks the same, just a little like angrier and like wetter. But I was expecting more of like a facial prosthetic situation.
I could have seen it. I don't know if it was something maybe they wanted to go for subtle, or they had other plans and they just couldn't execute it for one reason or another. But yeah, I also thought that we were trying to, because in some ways it fits the message of the film, right? Like they talked about how he's not the most handsome, he's doing all the right things, but now he's no longer doing all the right things. He's a terrible, abusive ex-partner. And I kind of would have appreciated it if he had almost like diminished or become more evil and gross looking as the film progressed. Like, no, this
Yeah.
is the person you fell for. They were terrible the whole time.
Right. Like almost like the more the women ignore him, the more demonic his appearance becomes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do think we're supposed to get that. It just is very low key.
It's more baked in his performance than the actual
Yes.
physical appearance. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we lock ourselves in the kitchen. We realize, okay, we need to get that effigy. We need to get rid of it. We drop it. It shatters into 3 different pieces. Thank God there's 3 of us that we can handle this thing. We do see this, I'm going to say, interesting. Like, this was a choice to then make this deformed giant version of Daryl outside the window. What do we think of this?
I don't think I would have minded it as much if it was like more of a thing, but like it appears and like we
smashes the window. That's it.
Yeah, and then it's like then we get this little floating pygmy thing of it.
It's a choice.
Yeah,
I don't like it.
But again, it's so weird. It's such a weird, and he just pops away. Yeah, I don't know why we're doing it. Because also, if the wax doll like breaks in 3, God,
shouldn't he have broken into 3 pieces?
Beetlejuice this thing and have like the 3 pieces like coming after them, you know? But maybe that's too horror-y. I don't know.
It definitely feels like we were reticent to go too far with this part. Like, this is ostensibly the climax.
Yeah, this is it.
And it's a bit of a whimper, I'm not going to lie. Like, I think it's been a lot of good action, but I thought that we were going to get something very dramatic, and instead it's like this weird looking version of Daryl peeks in and then just go, ugh, and like the pieces go in the fire and we're done.
I think that's the thing is like there's not really a face-off between the women and Daryl. Like that's the thing. I think you feel like all the witchcraft they've been doing has been building up to a final confrontation, and we don't get that. And
we
so
do not get it.
And the fact that we just cut to an 18 months later coda, you're like, oh, like something just feels off about it. Like it doesn't feel satisfying or cathartic.
Yeah, and again, I don't know if this is a budget thing, if this is what we always planned, but it doesn't feel quite big enough. And you're right, I would have liked something where they actually get to either have a verbal exchange or it's just a bit more extended. Like, draw this out. And then, the 18 months later feels like we got bad test results from audiences or something. And then we decided to add this on. Like, I can see, we mentioned all 3 women are pregnant, so you're going to pay this off. And we get to do the fun devil spawn, and each of the kids has a different color hair. Isn't it cute? I don't know. It feels tacked on to me.
Yes. Okay. So here's the thing, though. So let me tell you the book ending, so you can tell me because what they had to work with. I'm assuming. So okay. So I was actually incorrect. So Clyde does kill Felicia in the book and hangs himself. They gave cancer to the 4th witch that you mentioned that is Jenny. Not in this movie. Yeah. So what happens is the 3 women share Daryl in relative peace until he unexpectedly marries their young innocent friend Jenny. The witches resolve to take revenge by giving her cancer through their magic. Although Alexandra feels remorse for their hex, the spell kills Jenny, and Daryl flees town with her younger brother Chris, apparently his lover. In his wake, he leaves their relationships strained and their sense of self in doubt. Eventually, each summons her ideal man and leaves town. That's the end of the book. Yeah.
So, let's tackle this in 2 pieces. Let's talk about Chris and Daryl from the book, because I do think that this is a very deliberate choice to not... As I said, I think we probably just did it because we didn't need these extra characters in the film. Right. But it is also like a pretty substantial queer erasure, right? Like, it really reframes Daryl as a character if he absconds with a man who, in the book, you're very clearly meant to read, like, he's actually leaving the women alone so that they can fuck and, like, perform spells and do stuff because he's off spending time with Chris.
Yes, but then also it had to at the end of the movie be like, oh, but they summon their ideal man and all is good in the world. So it's still like these women need a man to be happy in their lives. And so, but the way the movie does it is the women need a baby, a child to be. Because to me, I'm like, why didn't you just abort this shit? Like, it's 87. I know we're not like giving abortions away, but like you're all carrying Satan's child.
100%. Yeah. Like, I can understand Jane because she talked about how she's the only one who hasn't been able to have a child and she did want one. I don't love it, but it's a bit more of a conventional female narrative arc. The other 2, I'm just like, especially Suki. You already have
Girl.
billions and billions of children, and you're like, oh, I can definitely have another one. Sure.
Well, and I would say for a feminist, and not to say that like all feminists want abortions, but they want. I feel like the right to have an abortion is something that's a big feminist thing, and so I think it's weird that that's not even an issue raised in this film. Like again, we just cut forward 18 months, and these kids are 9 months old.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to bring Cheney back in because she poses this as a series of questions that I thought we might use to maybe further this conversation before we wrap up. But she says, yes, the women are erasing Daryl and seem to have the upper hand, but they're also reduced to little more than traditional caregivers, forced, albeit seemingly happily, to raise his kids, all of whom happen to be boys. And I do think that that's also significant, right?
Yeah.
So did Daryl just use each of them as vessels to put more devils on the earth? If he did, then maybe Witches of Eastwick is actually a cautionary tale warning women that, in the long run, no matter what they do, they are ultimately powerless. Or, as the mothers of those boys, do the women actually have control over shaping the devil's offspring, implying there is hope for future generations?
I guess that would make sense, except for the fact that even though they've gotten rid of Daryl, he still shows up on the TV and is raising the kids to the TV screen. And I think I could maybe be more okay with this coda if that didn't happen. But Daryl's still going to be an influence. I mean, and maybe that's the sequel tease that we'll never get. Like, I don't know.
It definitely feels like a sequel tease. And yeah, I feel like it's the movie thinking it's ending on a bit of a comedic up note where, you know, the women have the power and the agency because they just turned the TV off, as if to say, oh, I can finally shut this man up. Because really, Daryl hasn't actually, you know, as you said, the movie doesn't do a lot of visual magic imagery, but it does suggest that there is a lot of power in words. Like that is Daryl's forte, right? Is that he uses his mouth to command people, to get them on his side and so on. So by shutting off the TVs, you silence him. You give the last word to the women. But I agree. It still feels like, okay, well, you turned off a TV. That means he's still out there. Like, I would imagine anytime these boys walk by a screen or boot up a laptop in the future, he's just going to be there. So I read this as a very unsatisfying ending for the women. And it suggests that Daryl will just continue to groom these children to become evil in the future.
But as your source pointed out, though, like, albeit they seem to be happy doing this, but that's also like, oh, all a woman needs is a child. And she's going to be happy. Like she's got all she needs in the world. It doesn't matter. There's 6 of them for Suki. Yeah. Like she's good. She's happy with this. I'm like,
oh my God. She's got trillions and trillions of fucking children. And she's just like, yeah, one more. It's fine.
But I guess, do they all live in the mansion together now?
They do live in the mansion, and they still have Fidel, who seems happy to look out for them. But also, again, it's maybe because he's raising the master's baby.
I was gonna say, like, he's very much an apostate of Satan. So,
yeah. So it's ambiguous. I feel like this muddles some of the messaging of the film. Like, I think again, you could say, is this satire? What is the film actually trying to say about all of this? Because it's not as if the women look like they're having a bad time. They seem content with this. So this feels very 1987. Like if you did remake this, I think that we would be like, okay. And the final scene is we all walk into the abortion clinic.
It almost, I mean, again, even though this is a much bigger departure from the source material than, say, Ridley Scott's Hannibal was to Thomas Harris's novel, but it reminds me of when we talked about Hannibal months ago about how it's like, well, how do we end the movie because we're not using this ending? And it's kind of like, it feels more like let's just do this. Like it doesn't feel like a lot of thought was put into this ending.
Yeah, it is just kind of wild that we didn't use the book ending because I think arguably it's not much more feminist to say they call their own men, but it does feel a little bit more like, well, they make the decision. Like it pays off the conversation they have at the beginning where they say, well, wouldn't it be nice if we could actually do something to make better partners for ourselves?
100%. So yeah, it sucks because even though, yes, I agree that with what you said earlier, that the movie is messy, but for the most part, this is a very fun movie. Like I think it's a breezy good time. You get to see a bunch of actors you love, like having a fun time. But then this ending just always leaves a sour taste in my mouth, and so I hate that. Like you walk out of the movie being like, oh,
yeah. It's like, oh, I ate too many sour cherries, and now I just have that taste in my mouth. Blah, blah, blah.
But I mean, overall, I do like this movie. This is still a 4
Yeah.
out of 5 movie for me. It's probably more of a 3.5.
It's a
but,
3.5. Yeah.
Yeah, but like I really just like watching these actors play. I wish they got to play more in the same sandbox together than
Yes.
apart. But it's a
Mhm.
fun movie, and again, like, I think it's weird.
It's a little bit weird. I mean, I think there's definitely pieces that if we did remake this, or if this was a more contemporary film, like there's some easy fixes that you could do to make this just a bit more
Agreed.
amenable, and I think keep it a bit more on point. But yeah, I mean, I've had the opportunity to rewatch this a couple times in the last few years, and I'm always just like, oh yeah, this is a good time.
Yeah, it's a good a two-time Academy Award nominee. Good time.
There we go. Yes.
Well, all right, everyone. That is The Witches of Eastwick. We hope you've enjoyed this. I mean, it's been an honor to do this for Chattanooga Film Festival. And again, give us a reason to cover this film that we've been wanting to cover for a very long time.
Yes, it's always nice to have that excuse and say, okay, cool. Now we can do it, and people will actually enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so please check us out. We are Horror Queers. You can find us on Bloody Disgusting, Blue Sky, Instagram, Spotify, all the places you get your podcasts from. We've been around for 6 years. We've been having a good time talking about horror films through a queer lens for all that time. And I mean, cross out The Witches of Eastwick.
Indeed. And we can cross out Horror Queers.